Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Melissa L. Hite. She is a spiritual practitioner, healing artist, and a life coach. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you, KJ. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
You are welcome to the show, Melissa. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We'll be talking about spirituality and healing. So, Melissa, first to understand for the audience, if you want to tell them who is Melissa L. Hite, is it just beyond, because you are much more beyond being a life coach? You have a lot of experience of life, you have seen life from close, and you are trying to give as much back to in terms of educating people in whatever your experience is. So help the audience know who is Melissa L. Hite if they want to understand.
Wow. Define myself. Okay. um, I'm a pure-hearted spirit that came here. How old am I now? 38 years ago, and um, I've I came here with my own knowings and my own wisdom, as we all do, and have learned a lot along the way, and want to help teach people what I know and learn what other people know and experience this life beautifully. So a little about me, I guess I grew up in a heavily religious environment, very compressed, stifled environment, but I wasn't a part of that religion. So I was kind of an outsider to a lot of religious oppression in my world, and that was, good and bad. That was wonderful and painful. With that, I learned to follow my own heart and go my own way. People didn't like me no matter what I did because I wasn't part of that group. So, I couldn't win anyway. So from a very young age, I just decided to do what my heart told me to do and follow my own path. And so that set me up for a really eclectic, beautiful, unique life. I was a gymnast growing up. That led me into aerial acrobatics. So I was a professional aerialist for a while. Cirque du Soleil, high flying performance art stuff, if you don't know. I toured with a circus in the U.S., Ringling Brothers. I was a human cannonball. I got shot out of a cannon 55 times. And then have always studied human sexuality in regards to spirituality and the connection of that. That's just something I've always been interested in, read books about, been curious about, went to school for. And so that's a little bit of my background. There's a lot to every human, but there's a little bit for you.
Absolutely, absolutely, Melissa. And your experience in as you said during your early days. Now there is a book in the offing, if I understand. Is that correct, or is that not?
A book in the making for me?
Yeah, yeah.
There is. There is, which is a huge undertaking. If anyone's written a book, man, good for you. I'm having a rough time and a beautiful time writing a lot of my story. It's mostly a memoir. I think it's going to be more of a memoir of um, some unique experiences that I've had. So yeah, there's a book in the making. I don't know when it'll be done. I'm trying to get the first draft done this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's move on to this, you know, healing and enlightenment. You talk about, pleasure as a healing modality. Is it that people understand all this in a very different manner than you want to explain? So help us understand your understanding about pleasure as a healing modality. How should people look at it?
Yeah, thank you. That's an awesome question. I think um, because of a lot of different influences in the world, including religious influence, I think many people view pleasure as wrong, bad, dirty, hedonistic, inappropriate, juvenile. immature, these kind of things. And it it's so basic that it escapes us. It's good for you to feel good. It's good for you. For you to feel good in your body, this is good for you. And I think we often mistake pleasure for instant gratification. Um, when I say pleasure, I'm talking about a deep state of healing, a deep state of feeling nourished in the body that returns you to a state of centeredness. So binging social media, someone could say is pleasure. I'm going to argue that's not going to necessarily return you to centeredness, might actually throw you off your own orbit and out from yourself further. So again, pleasure is is a deep state of goodness, lusciousness that brings you back to a centeredness within yourself. And because of that centeredness orientation, it's healing. And for more reasons, obviously, the neurochemicals that go with it, the body relaxation that happens, all sorts of stuff happens physiologically when we get into states of pleasure. Um, that's healing. And I do want one more little caveat is that pleasure doesn't have to be sexual. Pleasure can be auditory with music. Pleasure can be going on a run and having your body feel really good. Pleasure can be cooking, painting. Like there's infinite things that we can do as humans to get in a state of pleasure. Um, we don't have to conflate it with sexuality, but we can. We don't also want to throw sexuality out as if it's bad or wrong. We are sexual beings, and it's healthy to be balanced in our sexual selves.
Absolutely. You are also a spiritual practitioner. Tell about that. What is it that you do as a spiritual practitioner? How do you view spirituality? Do you view it the same way that people, a lot of other people want to see it? Help us understand in terms of your practice of spirituality.
Yeah, I don't know if I view it differently or the same as other people. I can't say how other people view it. My practice, I do my best. My practice is meditation, doing my best to stay centered in myself, clear in my head, kind in my heart, and operate from that place. And there's so many instances in the world that bring me out of that, and I have to do the work to get back to it. So I do a daily meditation practice, and I do a lot of yoga to keep my body moving and loose and flexible so I can be more flexible in my world and help with pain and all this stuff. So my spirituality practice is that of connecting deeply with myself and thus opening up the space to feel the oneness, the universe, God, whatever you want to call that great mystery that we're in, that we're a part of, that we're inextricable from. So, again, my spiritual practice is doing what I can to get my body in a state to be receptive and open and grateful and aware of this larger part of our existence.
Right, right. You also, what is your understanding of enlightenment? Is it the same as spirituality? You have done schooling at the Institute of Sexual Education and Enlightenment. So, do they talk about enlightenment and what sort of enlightenment do they talk about? What is your understanding of enlightenment with regards to spirituality?
That's a big question. Throwing out the big questions. What is my understanding of enlightenment? I can't say that I could really speak to that. I don't know if I'm a little tiny ant on this planet. I'm just a human. um, it's a I don't want to say it's a goal, but it's a thing to strive for. It's a pathway to get to be understanding and compassionate and open-hearted. I wouldn't say that I'm an enlightened being. The school, I think the school naming themselves that name, I think the point was to elevate our understanding of human sexuality, to get it out of the gutter and the dirty raunchiness, but to bring it up to a higher level. And that's what I try to do with my work. My business name is Higher Sex Education for the same idea of lifting and elevating and connecting our sexual self, our root chakra, all the way up to our spirituality, and connecting our whole selves, aligning our whole selves, and integrating our whole selves. So I work with people that have that channel kind of stuck in the bottom with having judgments or having dysfunction or fear or shame or problematic kind of programming in their heads about sexuality. So I help people kind of clear that up so they can have a channel towards enlightenment, towards reaching that state. I hope that
Absolutely.
answers your question well enough.
Yes, yes, yes. It is a difficult question. I wouldn't be able to answer it in in such a great manner that you have answered, and that is why I said it's a difficult question to express your views, because a lot of people try to answer. To express your views in the way you have done it itself is a good thing, great thing, because this is such a vast word. A lot of people are trying to understand this meaning of enlightenment. Coming, you have also done, hosted and taught a weekly class called the Birds and the Bees uh, around this. So what are the questions that generally people used to ask in this class? I want to understand from the other side of the thing, in this class. What was this class all about?
Oh, it's so wonderful. What a great question. So it was a lot of classes. So it was a weekly class for two and a
Yes,
half years. And
yes,
I wrote the curriculum every week. So it would be different. We had like men's health month and women's health month and anatomy classes and jealousy classes and communication classes and a lot, a lot of different stuff. And again, being in Utah, there's a lot of repression, religious repression. So I work a lot with adults who have just really normal questions about their bodies, about healthy sexuality and functioning, and didn't learn. The knowledge was kept from them. The natural developmental experiences were kept from them. So I work a lot with adults that just have really sweet, innocent questions and just want to grow and develop in ways that they couldn't. So, what were some of the questions? Again, there was hundreds and hundreds of questions. But I loved the anatomy classes. I love teaching people about their bodies and seeing just like light bulbs go off. Like, why didn't I ever know this about my body? Why didn't I ever love how my body functions? Why did I always judge it and think it was wrong or bad? Why didn't I realize that this is a beautiful thing? So I loved witnessing the expansion that would happen in people's selves and that leading to more love for themselves and others. So that's my work. That's my goal, is to create that expansion which creates more room for compassion and love.
absolutely. Let's talk about trauma. You are a trauma survivor, if I understand. A lot of people who go through this, they have their own stories. What is the reason that the trauma keeps on extending? Is it about the lack of boundary setting? You also talk about boundary setting. How do you look at trauma and boundary setting?
Mm.
Can trauma be avoided with the right kind of boundary setting from the very beginning? Help look at it from this, help us understand, or is it not possible? Both are two different things.
Um, I think it can definitely help. Understanding boundaries, which leads to understanding boundary setting, can help avoid trauma. Unfortunately, I think I'm speaking globally here. I think trauma is a currency for the powers that be to keep people stuck, to to injure people in such a deep, transformative way keeps them stuck, and leads to suicide and dysfunction in medical care and all sorts of things when people are really hurt in that way. So I don't want to gaslight any trauma victims by saying you could have done better if you would have had better
Absolutely.
boundaries,
Right.
because very possibly not. With my trauma, I think I probably could have done I probably could have avoided some things with better boundaries with my trauma, but I was in a situation where I was prey to men in power that took advantage of me being a single young woman in the world. So I'm not going to say that I did anything wrong by not having stricter boundaries. I actually had pretty good boundaries, but I also had powerful, aggressive men that did their best and succeeded at violating those boundaries that I had. So, yes, you can have good boundaries. Yes, it'll help you. I have a lot to say about boundaries, and it's not going to necessarily always protect you. It could protect you, but there's also bad forces in the world. There's also evil people in the world that want to have power for power's sake.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. It is all those things, it comes to mind only later on. You can't go back in your own past. And that is where, you learn about things beforehand if you are lucky, and then include them in your life. In my own life, if I see, there are so many times I think if I knew the word even boundary setting, say 20 years, 25 years back, my life would be a bit more comfortable for me. And earlier there was not even a word called self care. There
Yeah.
used to be only selfish, and
Yeah.
either so you have to be either think of others or be selfish. There's that the down the words have come, even
Mhm.
boundary setting. So I understand what you call, but you have explained it well. Now let's look at things. There is so much to learn from you. We already touched on several critical issues. There are so many things to learn from you. You have this online coaching programs and workshops. So tell us about that, so that people can learn more from you and be a part of your of whatever you teach.
Yeah, thank you. I have one course that's available at the moment with more coming soon. So the course that's available is a boundary course, and it's focused on internal boundaries. So my relationship with me, um, why am I not honoring myself? How can I honor myself? Learning these skills before getting to the external boundary part, which is how I speak to you and what I say to you and my interactions with you. So it's an internal boundary course. It's about 6 months. It's very in depth, juicy, nitty gritty, getting down into the fundamental part of who you are and how you operate in the world. So that's cool. I love that course. It's called Boundless Living. Very, very soon, I will have a chocolate making class, just a little class. I used to teach women's health with a chocolate making class, so we could have the cacao nutrients that we needed and kind of divorce the refined sugar part of things with
Right.
it. So that's like a $5 class, just a little thing. And I'm going to have more and more classes rolling out this year. I have a pleasure class that's coming out this year, and integration, helping people with integration. I'll have a receptivity class, like a yin to the yang. We'll have a yin class that will be out. Um, so again, there's one available now, second one coming very soon, and then more as they come out. I'm working on most of these classes are written. I'm working on videoing them and editing the videos, and then also writing a book. So I have a lot I'm undertaking at the moment.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what is the best way for people who would like to connect with you? What the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, my website has everything that I have, or connections to everything, and it's just my name right there on the screen there. melissalhite.com is my website. And that'll bring you to different podcasts that I've done, some blogs that I've written, those courses I just talked about, and it'll have links to social media, which I'm not on very often, but I do have a Facebook group and I do have a Instagram account. Again, I don't do a lot with with the social media for my own mental health, and I think we need to all have a good, healthy balance with it. So, yeah, everything can be found on my website, melissaalhite.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.